my wife is great and my kids are great. And my wife and my daughter are just like this perfect pair. They're just like a little clone of each other, right? And doesn't that come in handy sometimes when it's just like you deal with yourself? Why don't you just... And there was one night, it was time to go to bed, and there's an argument, and they're getting so mean to each other that my wife just leaves the room. And she goes, you go in there, I can't do it. And I walk in and my daughter starts giving me a lot of attitude. And I was like, hey, honey, I'm not the one you're fighting with. Remember? And she goes, yeah, well, if mom wasn't mean to me, I wouldn't be mean to you. And I was like, I get this, like, I'm going to be a dad now. And I go, think about this, honey. Now, if because of that same thinking, if I went and I was mean to grandpa and then he was mean to grandma, and then eventually the whole world is upset and mean because no one stopped and chose to be kind. And my daughter goes, yeah, and it would all be mom's fault. That logic is sound. So, man, you have a daughter, it'll change you. Like, we had a daughter. The second she was born, I immediately started treating women better. Thank you. Thank you. Applause early on. Oh, I was a real player before. Before that, I couldn't walk down the street. No one ever believes that. All right. I'm saying you have a daughter, it'll change you. You have a kid with your DNA a little different than you. It opens your mind to the world, right? Because there's a big difference between sympathy and empathy. I don't know what it is. But they wouldn't have made a new word. They're definitely different words. And you have a kid that has some of your DNA because, you know, narcissism is the fastest growing sport in America. It'll help you love other people. The problem with this country is so many people think it's pickleball. If we could all evolve. If we could just have a kid that looks like if everyone had a kid of a mixed race, a kid of a different gender, a lot of people in this country need to have a Republican baby. Stick with me, just picture a cute little fella wearing a Make America Great Again hat, all right? But he's got your mother's eyes, all right? And your father's conspiracy theories. I'm not saying you have to agree with the baby. I'm saying if you're not on board, you're just not picturing the hat small enough. Oh my goodness. Thanks for being here. I'd like to welcome you all to the season finale of Survivor. The tribe has spoken. I'm trying to evolve. I really think I'm trying to be woke. And I know some people go, you're not woke already? What are you, a dinosaur? And you're like, oh, you're trying to be woke? What are you, a sheep? You know, I'm some kind of animal. But if you want to know if maybe you don't know what woke is, we got enough people, maybe you know what woke means, right? Woke is how white people determine which white people are the good white people. We get to pick. It's not fair. That's the point, that it's not. So if you want to be woke, you just call out cultural appropriation whenever you see it. That's the easiest first step, right? So if you see a white guy with dreadlocks, you say something, right? You see a white guy with cornrows, don't be a hero. Do I call out your tribal tattoo? It depends on how big your arm is. Right? All right. I'm not going to be judge and jury if they call you the executioner, right? Why do people care about things like that? Well, black people with cornrows have gotten hassled by their employers for a 5,000-year-old hairstyle, right? We've had cornrows longer than we've had corn. And there's black people getting hassled by their employers for having that hairstyle. And meanwhile, white people with cornrows don't have employers. I'm trying to evolve. If anybody should complain about appropriation, it's my people, the Greek people, Huh? I mean, some of the most poorly behaved people in this country run around with our alphabet on their shirt. Yeah. Thank you. So if you're out there running a marathon in your Nikes in the Olympics, you better hope that doctor took the Hippocratic Oath when you tear your Achilles. Or you're never going to meet John Stamos, you know? It's never going to happen. Welcome. Thanks for coming. From the top, everyone. Let's do it again. You guys want to hear? I had a good one at the beginning. I said, welcome to the season finale of Survivor. Did you ever watch Survivor? Yeah. You did. I think this is this accurate? A little bit. It's okay. We're up to speed. I think we're up to speed now. You're good. Thank you for being here. We are a proud people. I don't know if you've met Greek people. There's a few here tonight. We can explain it to you, but we think we're special. Like, we don't even think we're white. And who knows? It's hard to guess. It's actually rude to guess. It's rude. It's rude. So we think we're special. We think we will admit that the Jews are God's chosen people. We just think the Greeks are God's also chosen people. It's all delis and diners. So, yeah, okay. Think about it this way. Stereotypically speaking, Jewish people run banking systems. All right, and stereotypically speaking, Greek people ruin banking systems. Same pita, different meat, you know? So maybe we will. We haven't done it in a while. We haven't ruined the world economy in a long time. You're welcome. And but when we do again, what I'm really trying to say is, don't call me white. That's all I'm saying. Okay? Although distancing yourself from your own whiteness is actually the whitest thing you can do. That's where we are. That's what. Besides magic. You might be asking, Chris, what about David Blaine? Again, it's rude to guess. I went to the Acropolis with my family, and it was so cool to see the history. And we walk up. The steps are slippery. The marble has just been worn from people just walking up there. And we look at the Parthenon, and my dad leans over and says, "You see that? We built that." And I was like, yeah, we built that. I was ready to find any English-speaking person and say, "Are there any questions I can answer for you?" It's a fine structure. Yeah. This is a unique to Greeks kind of thing. Like, you go to a different country, go to Britain, go see Stonehenge. The British go, "We have no idea how this got here." Go to Egypt. They're like, "This thing? I don't know, aliens?" That's the whole thing with, Easter Island. The whole fun of Easter Island is they have no idea who did it. Put 2 Greeks on that island, they'd be painting those things blue. Let's take a break. We ready for a quick break? Okay. I sold some commercial spots for this. I'm very sorry. Yeah, I did. So, just art is not free, all right? Enjoy, and we'll go.
We need leadership, now more than ever. And yet, my opponent always wants to split dessert. Oh, he will say, "No, none for me, but you get something if you want." Then the waiter brings out 2 spoons, and he eats until you confront him. That's right, Chris Nakis is a dessert hustler. He's not running for any office, but just in case he ever gets any ideas, Chris Nakis can't be trusted with politics or comedy or cheesecake. I'm Amanda Nakis, Chris's wife, and I approve this message.
What a mistake. I am trying to be woke. That's all I can tell you. I'm trying, but still, like I misgender people all the time. Yeah, and that's just a part of learning Spanish. Mucho, my bad, you know? I'm trying. The environment, you have to care about the environment. Of course, climate change, big issue. Climate change, no one ever blames the sun. It's always humans' fault on climate change. Of course, the heat is coming from the sun, and they don't want you to burn fossil fuels, which are plants that died, the plants that grew from the sun. And then, what are we supposed to switch to? Solar energy? Who's making the money here? I think the sun should be investigated, but everyone says don't look into the sun. We give the sun a free pass. We treat it like it's a big star. Oh, the moans! Bring the moans. Give me the moans. I want them all. I heard groans and applause. Groans and applause. It is. It's climate change. You got to worry about climate change. I don't know. Personally, I'm just more of a plastic in the ocean kind of guy. It's easier to understand. It's just the plastic is in the ocean, and I grew up in the 90s. And my mom would go to those Tupperware parties. Yeah, they still do them. They're just in the Pacific. And I grew up with the Ninja Turtles telling me what to do with six-pack rings. Do you remember this? We were supposed to cut them up so they don't choke a fish. After you throw them in the ocean? I'm 5 years old. They don't even let me use the real scissors. It's serious stuff, right? Because we live in the richest country on earth, and 40% of lakes are so polluted you can't swim in them. And if you're a bad swimmer, those numbers only go up. Here's what I think the whole problem with the environment is that Earth Day is once a year, and Trash Day is once a week. Just switch them. Let's just switch them and see what happens. I don't know when Earth Day is. You bet your little blue recycle bin I would know when the one Trash Day is. I would roll my dumpster out to the curb right on time. I would not miss a Trash Day. But Earth Day would be every week. You'd be trying to go to bed. Oh gosh, it's Tuesday. I forgot tomorrow's Earth Day again. Might have to build a leopard sanctuary. It's confusing. We don't fully understand the environment. I don't think we do. I don't. I mean, if you're driving down the highway and you see somebody throw litter out their car, that's a criminal. And if you keep driving, you see a group of people picking up litter. Okay. You are supposed to know when Earth Day is, and I don't. And I went to the garden center and I bought a tree. And the lady ringing me up said, "Happy Earth Day." That's not good. I just overpaid for that tree. That's like buying jewelry on Valentine's Day at the airport. You've made a mistake. You ever do that? You're a nice couple. You ever buy her? No, it's a bad, don't ever do it. She's not going to be like, "Oh, Hudson News, you shouldn't have." It's not going to work. It's not, don't do it. She'll be like, "Hudson News, you should not have." I don't care how much this bracelet was. You got it in a layover. I bought this tree from a greenhouse. And our greenhouse is like next to a cafe. You know what I'm talking about? And you can buy like a scone and a very expensive tree that for some reason requires a roof to live. Trees, they're outdoor animals. They don't need glass. I'm gonna plant this in Pennsylvania. Did you know that? I don't know that I don't need greenhouse conditions for the. Go to Home Depot, go to Lowe's, you're in the yard, they're just outside. Those are the trees that you can live. That's a real tree. My tree grew up privileged. Yeah. My tree grew up privileged the way my dad says I grew up privileged. Do you know my father? My father only had 8 crayons his entire childhood. Did you know that? He colored 1 fire truck and then didn't have a red crayon until he was 35 years old. Pink? Can you imagine? He's never seen a pink crayon. He was drawing orange flamingos his whole childhood. And then how do I live in his house? He comes downstairs and he goes, oh, I see Mr. 64 Colors is at it again. Must be nice. Living with a built-in sharpener. Wow. 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 You have nothing. You can't come back to that. You're like, damn, the built-in sharpener kind of sucks. It's just ruining the crayon more. That tree that lives at Home Depot, that's the tree you want. That's the tree. Didn't buy that tree. That tree lives its whole life next to a lumber yard. Can you imagine being a tree? Like, I'm just going to grow up big and tall one day, and then what's going to happen to me next? And then you're going to be a 2x4. Grow. Life is hard. Anyhow, they're outside. They're surrounded by bags of mulch. Just the remains of their relatives. And they persist. They persist. I don't understand the environment. I don't understand birds. Oh, a bunch of smarty pants is here. Okay. Well, I don't understand birds. We had birds getting closer to our house. We called the kids over. Come look at these birds. How cool is this? And then they built a nest. Look at how they're weaving a nest. Amazing animals. And then look at the eggs. The beautiful eggs. And then the babies hatch. And now there's poop all over our deck. Not so miraculous anymore. So I get plans off the internet for a good birdhouse. The birds need a good symmetrical. We threw their nest in the garbage. I don't care. But I did feel a little bad. We needed a birdhouse for them. So we make them a birdhouse, and I go buy the right cedar from Home Depot, and I buy the right nails that won't rust, and I get everything that I need. And then as I'm walking out, I hear birds happily chirping who are living in the O of Depot. They won't sell you the O. If you want to, here's the hard part. If you want to be woke, you have to talk politics. I know. Is this a political crowd? Okay, real quick. Let's hear it. Shout it out. This November. Who's getting your vote for county treasurer? Who do you like? Not really a political crowd, okay? Well, Allegheny, your incumbent is Erica Brusselars, and my favorite thing about Erica is with us here tonight. Erica is worth a shot. It was going to blow my mind. I would have been pumped. You would have loved it too. You would have been at brunch tomorrow and been like, the show was amazing. You would not believe who was there. Yeah, the dog tax lady. That's it. You know, when we moved here, I didn't know you had to register your dog. I didn't know that. And then your dog gets a little thing, and it wasn't Erica, then it was John Weinstein. And every dog I met when I moved to Pennsylvania, I was like, this dog is also named John Weinstein. Are we doing something wrong? I don't know the man. But crazy thing, John is with us here tonight. John? I couldn't even say that without laughing. I'm just delighted in myself. And God bless all of you for sitting through every word, every syllable of me loving myself. You have to talk politics if you want to be woke. I found a thing. You have to talk politics? Okay, I'll do it. I just talk real slow. And then eventually, I'm just talking history. No one gets in trouble for talking history. Do you ever get fired for your aggressive stance on the War of 1812? It's good. I got to do this cool show. I got to work with this British comic, and he wanted to know if we're going to cover the same material, you know. And so he said, do you do anything on the royal family? And I was like, yes, I do. And he said, Will and Kate? And I was like, oh, no, Richard the Lionheart. No overlap here. I think we're fine. I just want to be liked. That's it. So I don't argue with anyone. I don't. And people go, well, Chris, do you argue with your wife? Well, yeah, because she doesn't like me. Oh, love is fine. Love forever. That's easy. But tolerate? I mean, that's okay.
Chris Nakis sometimes just says, for no reason, no context. Just walking around the house. Nobody asked him anything. Like 2 minutes of silence would kill him. I swear he didn't always do this. He went on one trip one time and brought back no gifts other than this infuriating habit. Sometimes I'd look at him and I just know he's saying, in his own head. I can see it in his eyes. Chris Nakis can't control the sounds that come from his body. I'm Amanda Nakis and I approve this message.
My wife took out all the ads? Oh, no. Oh, no. You gotta give people some leeway. You gotta have some grace for each other, right? Just when we're all arguing out there and we're on Twitter and we're angry and we're just in the streets and what, you just gotta remember that it's truly a thrill to have an opinion. Having an opinion, you just, for that moment, you guys ever have a good opinion? You know that the world is full of idiots. And for that moment, you forget that you're one too. It feels so good to have it's like telling someone a riddle and the answer at the same time. You're like, did you know that there was a mom on a plane and she could save the kid because she was a doctor and a pilot? Did you know that? Did you know? Did you know that women can be doctors too? I don't think you did. I do love this country. I love it, and I can tell you what's wrong with it. I will tell you what's wrong with it. It's an amazing country, right? Like the First Amendment alone, the rights, guaranteed, the 5 rights. Does anybody know the 5 rights in there? It's all right. Freedom of speech, religion, press, assembly, petition. I know petition because I sign one every year. That's to make Weird Al Yankovic the Super Bowl halftime performer. It's tough to remember those 5, but now here's another question. What if I say, you gotta fight for your right? That's what's wrong with this country. We're not even doing a good job partying. My favorite amendment, the Third Amendment. That's quartering troops. The military can't stay in your house for free. So when my brother-in-law, David, he comes to town, David, we love you. Thank you for your service. You're very brave. You're very clever. You're very smart. There's a Hampton Inn down the street. Huh. Am I being a bad brother-in-law or paraphrasing the Constitution? I love a Hampton Inn, by the way. I love a good Hampy. I'll stay in a Hampy anytime. Free breakfast. Free breakfast. You walk around that free breakfast, and there's just people with pockets bulging. Bulging. I got strawberry jelly for life. The Hampton Inn is where the middle class gets a taste of what life is like in the lower middle class. Yeah. Do I enjoy boxing out an 8-year-old for access to a waffle iron? Probably more than I should, but I'll make waffles for your whole travel lacrosse team. I don't care. I'll show you how to do that. You don't spray the sides, okay? Then it separates. You pry it out with the tongs, and then inside you put some scrambled eggs, sausage, syrup. Close it with the other half. Now you got a McGriddle. welcome to the lower middle class. Thank you. I miss those little cereal boxes. Do you guys remember those little cereal boxes? I mean, it's now it's that dispenser, but I don't like that. It just crushes your cereal as you close it, and everyone has powder. Everyone has the bottom of the bag, right? But those little cereal boxes with the perforation, where like if you had a box of cereal, but you didn't have a bowl, but you did have a razor blade and a very steady hand, you could peel that back while preserving the structural integrity. And now you're faced with a bag on its side. And again, if you can perform open heart surgery on Captain Crunch himself, peel them back. Now you take this little vessel over to that silver lever that sends out 2% at 4,000 psi. If you can just avoid soaking the cardboard and find a spoon, you can have 1/3 of a serving of cereal. Those were the best invention ever. Anyhow, that's what the Third Amendment means to me. My poor wife has to hear me walk around the house saying these kinds of things all the time. And I walk around saying things like, bless you, sir. Where were we? Okay. So I did this thing at the top where I said that it looked like the set from Survivor. Oh, my wife has to hear me walk around the house. I say things like, the politicians are there to serve the people. We pay their salary. They're there to serve us. And my wife goes, Chris, would you vote for a woman? Of course. Why would you ask that? Oh, so you want a woman serving you? No. Would you vote for a black woman? No, never. I only vote for old white guys. That's what I'm doing. Somebody old and mean that I can yell at. I want to yell at my president. I want to hate my politicians. I can't. Would I vote for somebody with a disability? Never. And they can't be poor either. I grew up with they taught us right, that the worst thing you could be is racist. And then just like a couple years ago, they said, by the way, everybody's racist. Good luck with that. Good luck out there. You're not good. I'm not a prejudiced person. I know that. In fact, I've never mistreated a minority. In fact, I've never even seen one in my suburb. What am I going to do? Mouth off to my dermatologist? I'm the worst with Greek people, my own people. If I meet a Greek person out in the wild, amazing. What island are you from? Who are your cousins? This is magic. But if a Greek person wrongs me, you sweaty, loud, hairy, you're the reason we're never going to have a Greek president. It's so hard to be on the right side of history. You just look at the way we look back at things. We all like to think that we would have been so brave when things go sideways. But really, if there's 3 soldiers at your door telling you to join the most evil movement of all time, I don't know. I'm not saying I would fold. I'm saying I buy a lot of popcorn from the Cub Scouts. And I tell my wife, and she goes, you spend how much? And I would say the same thing to her that I would say to any historian, you weren't there. You weren't there. You didn't see the looks in their eyes. Enjoy your caramel corn. It was pricey. My favorite president, Jimmy Carter. I saw the demographic in here. I knew that was a risk. I knew. You tell young people that your favorite president's Jimmy Carter, they don't know what you're talking about. When you tell older people you like Jimmy Carter, they're like, how would you like to wait in line for gas? And I was like, I don't know. That's Costco. I go to Costco. I'm a big fan of Jimmy Carter. Here's the thing. You would think this man would be able to unite the country easily. He was a Southern liberal. He was a veteran. He was a farmer. He went across the globe fighting for human rights. He gave to the poor because he was living out his Christian faith. You would think he'd have something to appeal to everybody, and he appealed to nobody. The man's approval rating went from 75% to 25%. Only half of the country's capable of changing their mind. He got every one of them. So, I don't know. I like him. The real reason I love Jimmy Carter, he built over 4,000 homes with Habitat for Humanity. 4,000 homes. I don't want to sound ageist. I don't think he's doing the whole house. Just a little toilet paper roll holder or something. But still, that's a lot of trips to Home Depot. And that is where I discriminate on age. I go right into Home Depot. I go right to the old guy. You know the old guy I'm looking for. I want the guy who starts his sentences with, what you're gonna wanna do is. I need a guy who knows his fractions. A guy, not a decimal guy, fractions guy. You throw 2 bolts in the air, he goes 5/8, 9/16. I'm standing on 3/4 inch plywood. I want a fractions guy. I want a guy who has 9.5 fingers. You know the guy I'm looking for. He'll help you strap whatever you buy to the roof of your car. And before you drive off, he's going to look at it and say, that's not going anywhere. That guy's never going to be president. He should be. Doesn't have the wealth that it takes to become president. I mean, Jimmy Carter had a net worth of $10 million. That's a lot of money, but that is impoverished for a president. That's like a senator with bad credit. I think maybe we should, consider looking at the two-party system. The two-party system, probably a problem, right? I mean, you can be a brilliant person in this country and only have 2 choices for president. Look at what they do in Europe. There's left of center, right of center, center, Nazi. The 4th is Nazi. I mean, maybe, if you're a Nazi in this country, you get 2 choices for president. It's probably best. That's probably the best. Shouldn't they be unhappy too? There's just no candidate out there for the everyday common superior race. I think they should ask every candidate how many times they've drawn a swastika. And I don't trust 0. You've done it. Not like it's a hate crime, but just like you're drawing a swastika. But he just... Oh, Senator, you mean to tell me you've never made an unfortunate pinwheel? I'll tell you my number. My number is 4. And that is too many to be president. 4 is too many. I'll tell you the first one. I remember the first one. It was in college. One of my friends had passed out. And he still had his shoes on. I'm not a barbarian. And so we just got a little magic marker and did a little, and I drew a little stick figure Hitler, and I thought I was being edgy, okay? It's not, I'm embarrassed, but I'm telling you, but it's not right. Now, I also remember my 4th swastika. It was moments after the first. I think the ballots shouldn't list the candidates' parties on it. I think that would help us. I think just like maybe their first name and a fun fact. Are they a pet reptile person? Not my candidate. Sorry. Maybe you are. Sorry. I don't know. John Quincy Adams had a pet alligator in the White House. But he didn't wear a bolo tie, so something's up. I don't want all that. My Jimmy Carter fun fact is that he went by the name Jimmy. That's in the hallowed office of the presidency where you have James Madison, Monroe, Buchanan, K. Polk. He goes, I'm going to go with Hendricks and Buffett and, Dean Sausage. You know who I loved when he first came on the scene was Dr. Fauci. He came on the television. I remember I was sitting in a Hampy and flipping through the channels, and there's this man, and he says, Chris Nakis, I swear he said my name. You cannot go to that toddler's birthday party at a trampoline park. And I was like, all right. And he said, oh, and your coworker's destination wedding that's on a Tuesday? I'm canceling it. I like this guy. I'm glad he's gone, but we need a government official who gets you out of things. Some sort of like secretary of regretfully declines. Somebody, we need him. I'll tell you when he lost me though. When I turned on my TV and then flipping through the channels and I saw him throwing out the first pitch at a Washington Nationals game. That throw was a health risk. It was terrible. If you're gonna, you can tell me to stay in my home. You can, and I'll listen to you. But I don't need you going out and living out my childhood dreams on TV. And then you change the channel, he's on the Tonight Show. What's this guy doing? And then what's next? I change the channel and he's throwing bouncy balls off of skyscrapers. Change the channel. There he is holding hands with Nev Campbell. Unbelievable. I'm glad he's gone. But you know what? At least he threw like he reads a lot of books. I like that. Thank you for agreeing with Nev Campbell. Nev Campbell, a beautiful woman, right? I mean, she's kind of like the Jimmy Carter of, okay, all right.
Oh, and another thing. Chris Nakis only trims his body hair in hotel bathrooms. Or as he calls it, man scampy in a hampy. It's gross anywhere, but in what is essentially a shared public space, it is inexcusable. It's not middle class, it's classless. It's one step away from clipping toenails in a food court. Chris Nakis is unfit to serve in healthcare, housing, or hygiene. I'm Amanda Nakis, and I approve this message.
Hey. I grew up in Ohio, all right? That's all I can tell you about that. I grew up in Ohio. When you grow up in Ohio, that made me a Republican. That makes you a Republican. You just are. I would drive around for work. I'd listen to conservative talk radio. They make the best radio. It's not even close. There's no liberal talk radio because they don't put radios on skateboards. My grandmother didn't like this either. My grandmother, just a perfect Democrat. I'd go play cards in her house. In the summer, she'd watch me, and you'd be there playing rummy, right? And your forearm is stuck to the plastic, and there's no air conditioning. And you look on the wall, and there's pictures of our family. She was from Greece. A lot of her family was still in Greece, so I didn't know a lot of the people on her wall. And so one of the pictures was of John F. Kennedy, and I just thought we were related to him. We don't see him very often. He's just on an island somewhere. He's enjoying the Aegean. And so my grandmother would always try to convince me to vote Democrat when I was 7. It didn't, whatever, but she was very sweet. And then we moved to Boston. My wife and I moved to Boston, home of Uncle John F. Kennedy. And they invented podcasts. So I guess I'm a Democrat. And it was very fun. It was a fun thing to do for a little bit, you know? We went at this fundraiser, and I got to meet Michael Dukakis. And this group would know who that is. If you don't know, he ran for president in 1988. He lost to George H.W. Bush. And a friend was like, Mr. Dukakis, Chris, you got to meet Chris, fellow Greeks. And we started talking. Really smart guy, really nice guy. And then you can tell, though, he's in this crowded place, and he's got to meet everybody, right? He needs a quick way out of every conversation, and yet he's still talking to me. And so it's very sweet. And then at one point he says, Milase Linika, which means, do you speak Greek? And so I have this little thing I do. I always say, To elinikamu in espas menos, which means my Greek is broken, but that's the wrong word for. It's like the word for if you broke your femur. And so I think it's like a joke, but then he goes, "Oh, these kids today, they don't appreciate language, they don't appreciate culture," and then he walked away. And I was like, "You are the reason we've never had a Greek president." Yeah. I think the problem with this country is identity politics. That idea, right, that I look like this, so that's what I believe. And I do look like this, so that is what I believe. Look, I was my high school class secretary. Yeah, you felt that aura. You didn't know exactly what it was. You're in the presence of a senior class secretary. I was third in line to class presidency. 2 transfers and a semester abroad. It would have been me. And you're class secretary for life. And I won. It's a big deal. I won because I ran a campaign of myself, the only boy, against 6 girls. And my campaign was very chauvinist. And there's a big difference between chauvinism and misogyny. I don't know what it is. But they wouldn't have made a second word. But I still remember my speech just saying, "Young men of our class, do you really want our sacred meeting minutes written in purple pen? Oh my God. Do we want our I's and J's dotted with hearts? No, I promise to draw more cartoon reproductive organs in the margins. And yes, all of my opponents have superior penmanship, but isn't it called penmanship?" Okay. Just gonna Homer Simpson my way into these plants. I'm just gonna hide. Hey, it was 20 years ago, all right? I've evolved. The only time I ever loved a sitting president was George W. Bush. It was the World Series game where he threw out the first pitch. This is the October after September 11th. And he goes into Yankee Stadium in New York City. And they didn't announce him as the George W. Bush. They just said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States." And he walked out onto that mound. He's wearing a bulletproof vest under his FDNY jacket. And he just gives a thumbs up to the crowd, to the country. He stands there tall. And then he just throws a strike. And I still get goosebumps thinking about it. And you just think, man, that guy threw like he didn't read a lot of books. George W. Bush's dumb joke, 20 years too late? Not political. Just history. And it's just history. Would I vote for a woman? Yes, if she didn't throw like a girl. I would totally. Hey, I know some ladies who don't read very well and have a cannon for an arm. I would vote for that. You see, I'm already treating women better.
Well, everyone, that's it. Unlike my opponent, Chris Nakis, I do know how to end a show. You get up there, you thank everyone for coming, you thank your family, the audience, the venue, thank the people watching at home. You thank God Almighty for putting breath in your lungs, forgiving your sins, and letting you live in a time and place where you can get on a stage, run your mouth, and call it art. Chris Nakis can't do it because he's soft. What he can offer you is a few too many references to Jimmy Carter. So here I am again, and get this, I'm not even his wife, I'm an actress. There is no Amanda Nakis. The real Mrs. Nakis wouldn't even let him use her real name. And can you blame her? Drive safe, everyone. I'm Amanda Nakis, and I approve this message.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you all for being here and listening to this. What a I do have one other thing for my sweet bride. Honey, come up and get some. Come on. Do you want to come up? You don't want to. You don't want to. Could you just pass this back to her? That's best. That's best.